Welcome to day 445 of our DSO journey. I'm Ed Krasenstein, here with my twin brother Brian. And remember, these videos are being sponsored by NFT Tech. They are an investor in DSOFi. So there's quite a lot of news to talk about in the crypto space. Not really too much on DSO yesterday, but there is a lot to talk about in the overall crypto space. I think most notably is the Coinbase layoffs that we just heard about last night and into this morning, as well as the what's been going on with Celsius, Brian. You want to get started maybe talking about Coinbase? What are your thoughts? Coinbase announced that they are laying off, what was it, 18% of their workforce?
Yeah, so this morning, Brian Armstrong, the CEO and founder of Coinbase, announced that they're going to be laying off 18% of their workforce. I can actually read what he posted in his tweet. He said, "Today I shared that I've made a difficult decision to reduce the size of our team at Coinbase by about 18%. The broader market downturn means that we need to be more mindful of costs as we head into a potential recession. We also grew quite quickly over the past 2 years and have begun to operate less efficiently at our new size. It will take some time to adjust to the new scale before growing again." So I think the crypto winter is sort of kind of having some impact on Coinbase. I think that they got to kind of keep their expenses under control as the amount of revenue they're bringing in will likely fall because the Bitcoin price is down. Most crypto prices are down, uh, and and there's probably going to be less activity. So Coinbase, it's definitely a signal. It's definitely a signal that the crypto market is slowing. How long is it going to be? We don't know. Have we hit a bottom? I don't know. I think that I think at a point you get so much bad news that eventually you hit that bottom. And I feel like we're getting close to that. We're getting so much bad news coming out, whether it was US, whether it was I'm sorry, what was the exchange that closed
Celsius?
the
Oh,
stable coin? You had Celsius, you have Coinbase kind of blowing the whistle. I think that a lot's happening, a lot of bad stuff. Eventually you hit a bottom, I think.
yeah. So, I mean, Coinbase, as of last year, they had approximately 3,730 employees. So, an 18% layoff would equate to about 671 people losing their jobs, which, I mean, that's pretty big. 671 people working for Coinbase are now unemployed and they're going to be looking for jobs elsewhere. So, is this the start of a larger layoff spree by crypto companies or even, tech companies in general? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think like Coinbase NFT was kind of like the kind of a signal. It didn't really grow like they thought it would. It didn't pick up the volume of NFTs like they thought it would. It's really relatively dead right now. So I think they probably kind of got overzealous, overspent, hired a lot of people, had all kinds of projects in the works, and then you have the crypto winter and things get less robust and they have to kind of cut back and reorganize, regroup until the winter's over with, which it could last a month or two. It could last into next year. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Coinbase NFT, they didn't really do anything to innovate the space other than, you have a username associated with your ETH address. They didn't really do anything. And other than the fact that you can comment under NFTs, they didn't really do anything mind-blowingly innovative. They could have integrated with Web3 in some ways, and, those comments could have been on a blockchain like DSO, or they could have, you know, created something different that isn't just like a carbon copy of OpenSea with a username and commenting under each NFT. That's my
Right.
thoughts. I feel like they were just hoping to use a Coinbase name and they thought that
Yeah,
that itself would be able to bring people over, and it didn't. People are familiar with OpenSea. They like OpenSea.
I feel they could have differentiated themselves better. They had a great opportunity, and I feel they kind of dropped the ball in that respect.
Yeah, definitely. So what's going on with Celsius, Brian?
Yeah, so Celsius, which is a crypto lending platform, they announced yesterday that they're pausing withdrawals and certain transfers. Uh, and this is amidst what they call extreme market conditions And I would say that the market conditions are pretty extreme. Many analysts, many users are obviously criticizing the move, but others are saying that Celsius could just be protecting the users' funds as kind of like a measure to make sure things happen in an orderly fashion. Some people are calling Celsius a scam. Others are saying it's a Ponzi scheme. They paid up to a 17% return on crypto that you stake. So you could stake certain cryptos, earn 17% annualized, which is crazy. But I don't see any indication that is any sort of Ponzi scheme. I think that they definitely had issues. I know that I think a couple months ago they forced people who were not accredited investors to stop using the platform, which was probably a decent chunk of their user base. But it's definitely sending signals to users who, in my mind, they're likely going to rush for the exits and withdraw their crypto once they reopen it up. If they reopen it up, I'm guessing they are. I'm guessing it's not going to be a scam. Most likely, they just had to do this to help the firm stabilize liquidity on popular staked cryptos like ETH, like Ethereum. They had staked ETH, which was one of their products. And as all this chaos started happening and crypto started dropping, I think they just had to kind of freeze withdrawals just to make sure things stabilized. And I think that I wouldn't say this is going to be a scam. I think people are going to get their money back. I don't think people should be all that concerned based on what I'm reading, but it's definitely something that's going to make people think twice about keeping their crypto on a centralized exchange like Celsius or like Coinbase or like Gemini or any of the other ones, Binance, you name it, because at any point, anything can happen. If you don't own your keys, you don't actually own your crypto.
So this kind of reminds me of something that took place back in 2014, and probably if you weren't in the crypto space like Brian and I back then, you probably might not even know about this story. But Mt. Gox, MT Gox, was a really large Canadian exchanger, and they were basically being run as a Ponzi scheme. They were basically taking money that they got and moving it to other exchangers and paying people out with money that came in, and their CEO eventually just disappeared. He died. Apparently, he died.
You're talking about QuadrigaCX, not Mt. Gox.
Yeah, I'm sorry, QuadrigaCX, and that wasn't 2014. I think it was 2000, maybe 17. So QuadrigaCX, their owner just vanished, and it was the platform was basically being run as a Ponzi scheme. And when he died, he apparently died of Crohn's disease in an Asian country. The money just was gone, and afterwards, the investigators went back to figure out where the money went, and it was never even in their account. So I imagine there's people looking into Celsius, and they can see like, okay, we're following the money. Where is that money at? Is it still in Celsius's hands, or did they do something crazy with it? So
Yeah, and
Mike, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and from all appearances, it looks like it's mostly secure. I don't think it's something to kind of compare to Quadriga. Quadriga was definitely a Ponzi scheme. And talking about Mt. Gox, that was a whole other issue. That was just just I think incapable management back in 2014, where this exchange basically didn't have enough currency. They lost currency. It was a mess.
Yeah, they lost 744,000 bitcoins in a theft, which kind of sent things spiraling out of control. And that was back in February of 2014 that they suspended their trading. So
there's a long history of exchanges and services going under due to really bad actions by management. So I think that people are very jumpy when it comes to things like this. I'm not saying Celsius is out of the woods by any means, but I don't think that they're comparable to a Quadriga or even a Mt. Gox, because they're not losing. They didn't lose people's money. They didn't claim to lose people's money. They aren't run on a Ponzi scheme framework from what I've seen.
Well, I think people are, people in general are skeptical of keeping their money on exchanges, at least Bitcoin people and crypto people typically. I mean, Coinbase is a solid one. There's Gemini, they're solid, but you never know. You never know when something could happen. Is there a hack? Is there, uh, a rogue employee that decides he's going to, transfer money to somebody that he knows somehow, or take part in a theft? You just don't know. And I think that's why a lot of people talk about keeping your Bitcoin or cryptos on paper wallets or in cold storage, because you're secure that way. But then you run into other problems where if it's in cold storage or in a paper wallet, you're solely responsible for that, and you have to trust that you won't lose that piece of paper that you have your keys written down on, or that you won't have a house fire and that paper burns up. So there's positives and minuses of keeping it on or off exchanges, but hopefully everything goes well with Celsius. I think like you said, Brian, I think they're legitimate, and I think things are going to work out. But until people can get their money out, I guess you never really know for sure.
And I think all this uncertainty is what's driving the crypto price down. Bitcoin dropped into the $20,000 range last night. Some people are calling it a bottom. Some people think that if it breaches 20, it could go much further. We'll see. As Ed and I say, we never recommend anybody buy crypto. We totally love the technology. We hold a lot of crypto, but I would never tell anybody to buy a crypto, because I'm not going to be responsible for their losses. Crypto is highly volatile, and most people, when they see volatility like we're seeing, it's really hard for them to hold on to a crypto long term.
Yeah, and I mean, they say, markets like this scare the weak hands out, and people who are, less likely to hold long term end up taking their money out because they're afraid that it could sink lower. So
Yeah, and I didn't want to touch on
ultimately,
that.
I think it's good for the crypto market to have downturns like this. It scares some of those weaker hands out. It brings new people into the space, they can buy in at a lower price, and it sets the tone for the next bull run.
Yeah, I just want to address something, and that's there's a lot of unsavory people in the crypto space, people that are going to try and lead you to believe that this is the next big project, or this is the next, or Bitcoin's going to $500,000 next year. And these people are not helping at all. There's so many people that are being led into the crypto space thinking, hey, I'm going to buy Bitcoin at $40,000 or $50,000, and it's going to 10x from here within a year or two, guaranteed. And that's because there's just so many pumpers and stuff. When this happens, it gets some of those pumpers out, but then there's new waves, and a lot of people do get hurt, and it's a shame, but that's just what these new markets are like, and that's how these new markets develop. And eventually, I think things will become more stable, but in the early days, things are going to be chaotic.
Yeah, I mean, all you do is spend like 10 minutes in a clubhouse room held by Bitcoin maximalists to see that there's some people who, like, are just constantly pushing others into buying Bitcoin. And ultimately, if others buy Bitcoin, that's going to be for your own good as a holder. So, or as a hodler, I guess I should say. So, I mean, I don't like these people who do that. I remember when Bitcoin was at around $65,000 going into one of those clubhouse rooms and listening to people say, you should be selling everything you own today and buying Bitcoin. And, I got up on the stage and I'm like, you really shouldn't be telling people this, because you don't know where Bitcoin, and it's like, I just got kicked right back down to the audience because they don't want to hear it. And they don't, it's kind of like a cult in some ways, I think, some of the
Yeah.
Bitcoin maximalists. And
Well, and not just Bitcoin maximalists, it's every crypto. There's so
yeah.
many new tokens and coins that are popping up that are basically built on nothing but pipe dreams. And those people are pumping it to the moon. I mean, even Dogecoin and Elon Musk, it's just kind of crazy.
Well, and NFTs too. You've seen so
Yeah.
many NFT collections just being pumped and pumped and pumped and pumped, just so the people who are pumping it can bail out for a profit. So you got to be cautious, and just do your own research.
There's a lot of groups that work together on Telegram and Discord who manipulate different coins, different NFT collections. And really it's illegal, but it's just so hard for any of these people to really get caught. And hopefully some of this crypto winter pushes some of these negative players out, at least for the time being.
Yeah, so let's move on. Zircle is on the DSO blockchain. They released a couple new features overnight. Of course, Zirkles is created by Tony Lewis and Dennis H. Lewis, and it's a long-form writing platform built on DeSo where you can write long posts, like Medium-type posts, and at least part of it's on the blockchain. So they now have content protection. Tony Lewis released a video. Definitely check that out. You can see it in the link above. Also, an option to customize the excerpt that gets posted to the blockchain. So when you write one of these really long form posts, only a portion of it is actually on the blockchain. The rest is just on Zirkles. But you can customize the excerpt that you want to be on the blockchain so that it appears on other nodes as well. There's some debate over whether, should Zirkles be using extra data in order to include all of the data on chain? And maybe that's something that they'll bring in later. But right now you do have that excerpt, the long excerpt that is customizable. They also said that their node is now in sync. There were some node issues after the latest DeSo hard fork that took place. They're in sync, and you can now publish, reward, diamond, boost articles on Zirkles. It's different than Medium in that you have these tipping mechanisms and these liking mechanisms and the ability to reward people who write articles. So definitely check out Zirkles if you haven't already.
Yeah, it's like Medium, but with like this monetary framework built around it, thanks to the DeSo blockchain. They're doing a great job. They're constantly innovating, adding features all the time. And I think that both Tony and Dennis are spending a bulk of their time on this project now.
Yeah, and Adithyas says that he is shipping something cool in a few days. He didn't go into details. He didn't provide any more information than that, other than the fact that he said it's not related to his other existing DeSo projects. So it's Adithyas constantly building on DeSo, constantly coming up with unique, innovative ideas on the blockchain. I can't wait to see what he has to release.
Yeah, great job. It's Aditya. I mean, he's almost single-handedly kind of creating this bridge from Web 2 to Web 3 via the DeSo blockchain. And every time he announces something, I get really ecstatic and really giddy about what it could be.
So PAL3N had an announcement yesterday, and this isn't so positive, Brian.
Yeah, so he announced that he has to shut down Bitcast. He can't keep paying the bills. He ran out of capital to continue running it. He posted it. He made a post. He said, "I love working on it and believe it could have a bright future, but unfortunately, I've run out of funds to sustain it." And he also said, "Winter or no winter," referring to the crypto winter, Web3 is the future we want, need, and deserve. So I'm sorry you see Bitcast go. Hopefully, maybe as we exit this crypto winter, maybe there'll be opportunities for PAL3N to bring this back, bring Bitcast back. Maybe somebody would manage to work with him. Maybe he can find funding. But yeah, I'm sad to see this project go because they were doing some great things.
Yeah, for sure. Brian, so yesterday, I don't know, do you want to, so yesterday, Barbie Graveyard made a post about us, and it was in regard to a post that you made saying, on days like today, I don't even look at my crypto wallet and instead spend time reading about where crypto is headed. Don't dwell on things you can't change. Instead, prepare yourself for where things are headed. And for the record, Brian made this post, not me. No, but Barbie Graveyard actually replied and said, dwell on this. We can change it. Not all of us are as well off as you, Krasenstein. White men telling us to just be okay with where we are at is just sickening at this point. And I do want to apologize for this post if you've taken it that way.
Yeah, it wasn't at all meant in that in that way. I'm just saying that of course we can change things, and what I'm saying to do is if you bought crypto and you're down a lot, there's nothing you can do about it. You could sell out. You could sell your crypto, walk away with a loss, or you can stop dwelling on this paper loss And in the meantime, keep building towards the future, keep reading about what the future is going to be. And that's how you change it. You change it. You can change it. I didn't say you can't change what happened in the past. You change it by looking towards the future and continuing to build and continuing to innovate and continuing to educate yourself about what's happening. And Barbie Graveyard, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. If you took it that way, I think you're mistaken from what I meant to say.
Yeah, I mean, it was meant. I see where you're coming from. You meant it as a more positive post, like take a positive outlook on this. But at the same time, there are people who have lost a fortune and in crypto and have had, maybe some people have had the vast majority of their wealth in crypto, who have seen that get cut by like, 3/4 in the last several months. So, I mean, I think we had to realize that, and we do have to realize that, it I think this is a cautionary tale, and when it comes to crypto, don't invest more than you can afford to lose, even if it's Bitcoin, which has been one of the more solid cryptos. It's hard. I think it's hard for anyone who's been investing in crypto to watch the markets like this tank. And same goes for the stock market. The stock market's lost 20%. I mean, nowhere near as much as the crypto markets have seen, but there are people who have essentially lost their life savings in crypto because of this. And I think, viewing it from that point of view can make people realize, you can realize that, some people who might be less fortunate, like there's people who might be working 5 jobs and they're like, okay, I'm going to put, maybe not 5 jobs, maybe 3 jobs, and they're going to put a vast amount of their wealth into crypto in hopes that they can actually catch up in society. And then they see this happen, and then something like, your post kind of, I can see how that can come off as, don't dwell on it after, I just lost my life savings in crypto. So I understand her point of view on this.
Yeah, no, what I mean is I'm saying do something positive. Try and educate yourself on what's coming in the future. Try and spend your time in an efficient way. And of course, if you invested a significant portion of your savings in crypto, which you definitely shouldn't have done, I think that it's okay to be upset about it. But all I'm saying is, if you can't change it, if you can't change your loss, then change it in another way, and that is by educating yourself and spending the time creating your self capital, and that is through learning about what's coming. What happened in the past is definitely something that you need to take into account, but ultimately the best way forward is to keep educating yourself and keep striving for a better future.
Yeah, and I mean, even some of the people who have educated themselves a ton on crypto, lose a ton in crypto because it's just unpredictable. Even the people who have been in this space since 2009, like the pioneers of Bitcoin, they don't know where Bitcoin's going in the short run. They don't know where Bitcoin's going in the long run. And I think Brian's post was meant to tell you to, kind of refocus and take a positive look at this and regroup. But at the same time, it could come off as, a little bit like, okay, I'm looking down at you, telling you, oh, it's going to be okay, when you might not be okay. So I definitely see that point of view. And that this is where social media can kind of, create a situation where words are taken in the context that they mean to you rather than in the context that they were intended for. And this is where a lot of, social media arguments begin, and where people kind of, don't see eye to eye on things, and there becomes this polarity within social media because people take word. It's not like, you are talking with Barbie Graveyard at an event and explaining to her your situation and explaining to her your thoughts on what's happening in the crypto space, where she can, like, tell from the tone of your voice what you're saying. She's just reading words, and words can be taken in a different context than they're intended. And, I think everybody needs to be more, I think you got to think more about what you type, and think about how others could read it before you actually post it.
Yeah, I mean, with Twitter, where you're limited in characters, with DISO, which are kind of limited in characters, it's tough to kind of get your full thoughts out there that aren't going to be misconstrued in just a few sentences. So just keep that in mind when you're reading people's posts. Don't like just immediately jump to a conclusion. Talk about it with them.
All right, yeah. So I mean, I'm sorry for bringing all of DSO into that. I just thought it was something important to address. If one of our posts offends somebody, we want to address it the best we can. So let's move on. Who were the top? What were the top hashtags from yesterday, Brian?
Yeah, so thanks to Open Prosper, top hashtags were DSO, Bitcoin, crypto, NFT, and NFT community.
And who were the top creators on DSO?
Yeah, thanks to Alton Base for this list. The top diamonded creators over the last 24 hours were Lil Lover, It's Aditya, who we talked about earlier, Krasenstein, us, Anacon 5, Yuchi, Mr. Triplet, Quanti, Panini, Now and Then, and Diego Robot. So congrats to all of you guys and
Congratulations.
women.
And I think that's all the news we have for today. Hopefully the crypto markets pick up. Hopefully we see some good stuff. I know DSO spiked up a little bit early this morning, but it's kind of back down again. But we'll talk to everyone tomorrow and have a great day.